Welcome back to Lucky Fortune English Podcast. I'm Vincent, and we're going to be diving into something a little different today.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about how each zodiac sign reacts when they stumble upon true love.
I'm Jenny, and I have to say, I'm really excited about this one.
Me too.
Whether you're a firm believer in astrology or just curious, it's fascinating to explore these personality archetypes and how they approach love.
Yeah, we've got a great stack of sources here with different takes on each sign, so we should get a pretty well-rounded picture.
Should be fun.
Yeah. So let's kick things off with Aries, the first sign in the zodiac. Now, Aries is described as being super straightforward and sincere, with zero tolerance for dishonesty.
Right.
So I'm picturing them like cutting right to the chase on a first date.
Makes sense.
No time for games.
Yeah, that makes sense considering Aries is a fire sign. In astrology, that often translates to a passionate and dynamic personality, and that sincerity runs deep.
Right.
One source even suggests that for an Aries, betrayal can be a complete deal breaker.
Whoa. Okay, so no second chances there.
It's pretty serious.
Yeah, that fiery personality definitely comes through.
Yeah.
But what about the positive side of that passion? How does it manifest when an Aries is truly in love?
Well, think of it this way. Being in a relationship with an Aries is like hopping onto a roller coaster.
Yep.
It's exhilarating,
Right.
full of surprises,
Yeah.
and probably a little bit intense.
Okay, I can see that. Now, what about Taurus? Our sources highlight their thoughtful and affectionate side, saying their love language is all about meaningful gestures.
Right.
It seems like they're the type to plan elaborate dates
Absolutely.
and shower their partner with gifts.
Absolutely. Taurus is an earth sign, which is often associated with practicality and a love for the finer things in life.
Right.
They put a lot of thought into their actions,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to showing affection. So yeah, they're definitely the ones planning those romantic getaways and picking out thoughtful presents.
But hold on, if Taurus puts so much emphasis on these grand gestures,
Yeah.
what happens if their partner doesn't respond in the way they expected? Does it lead to disappointment?
You hit the nail on the head. While Taurus is known for patience, even they have a limit.
Okay.
Unmet expectations can be a real downer for them, and if they feel unappreciated, they might be quicker to walk away than you'd think.
That's interesting. So it's like they have a secret limit to their generosity,
Yeah.
even though they're known for being so giving.
Right.
All right, moving on to Gemini. The twins, they're often described as charming, intelligent,
Yes.
and maybe a little bit superficial,
Right.
valuing appearances and social graces. Does this have any impact on their love life?
It definitely plays a role. Gemini is an air sign associated with intellect and communication.
Right.
They love engaging in witty banter and stimulating conversations. So, yeah, they are drawn to partners who can keep up mentally and who present themselves well. But here's the twist.
Okay.
While Geminis might appear fickle,
Right.
they can actually be quite discerning when choosing a partner.
So it's not just about looks for them.
Exactly.
There's more depth there than we might initially think.
Exactly. But that discerning nature can be a double-edged sword.
Okay.
Geminis have a tendency to overthink and get stuck in the selection process, always looking for the perfect match.
Right.
They might end up missing out on genuine connections because they're too busy analyzing every detail.
So a little less analysis and a little more feeling, maybe?
Perhaps.
I can see how that would be a challenge for them. All right, what about Cancer?
Yes.
They're often described as nurturing and sensitive with a playful side that makes them endearing. Is this how they are in relationships too?
Absolutely. Cancer is a water sign known for its emotional depth and intuition.
Right.
They're incredibly caring and protective of their loved ones. You can always count on a Cancer to be your shoulder to cry on and to offer a warm hug when you need it most.
Oh, that sounds lovely. But I've also heard that Cancers can be a little moody. Is there any truth to that?
That's an interesting point. Their moods can shift quickly, like a
No.
child's, going from giggles to tears in an instant.
Wow.
But here's why. Cancers are incredibly empathetic.
Yeah.
They absorb the emotions of those around them, which can make them seem a little unpredictable at times.
Right.
But on the flip side, it also makes them incredibly sensitive partners who are always attuned to your needs.
So it's a package deal, right?
Right.
You get the nurturing side and the occasional emotional whirlwind.
Exactly.
All right. Let's move on to Leo, the lion.
Yes.
One source was very direct, stating that to a Leo, when you're theirs, you're theirs.
Ooh.
What does that even mean?
Well, Leos are known for their confidence and, yes, a bit of possessiveness in love.
Oh, yeah.
They're ruled by the sun, so naturally, they like to be the center of attention, especially in the eyes of their beloved.
Right.
They shower their partner with grand gestures, affection, and gifts.
Okay.
But they also expect unwavering loyalty in return.
So that sounds pretty intense.
It can be.
Are they the jealous type?
Leo's need for control comes from a place of passion.
Okay.
They're deeply invested in their relationships and can be deeply hurt by any hint of deception, even if it's not a full-blown betrayal.
So it's more about feeling secure in the relationship than actually being controlling, right?
Exactly. It's about knowing they're valued and cherished. Now, let's talk about Virgo, the sign of the analytical mind. They're known for being intelligent, practical, and having strong opinions. How does this play out in their love life?
Well, from what I've read, Virgos are not easily convinced.
That's right.
They have high standards.
Yes.
And need someone to prove their worth before fully opening up.
That's spot on. Virgo is an earth sign known for its practicality and attention to detail. They carefully observe and analyze everything.
Right.
And that includes potential partners.
Okay.
They're not swayed by superficial charm. They need substance, intelligence, and someone who can stimulate their mind.
But I bet once a Virgo does commit, they're incredibly loyal and dedicated partners.
Oh, absolutely.
They wouldn't waste their time on something superficial.
You're absolutely right. They take commitment seriously. And while they might come across as reserved or critical at times, deep down, Virgos crave a deep and lasting connection.
Yeah.
Their sharp words often mask a desire for true love and stability.
That's a fascinating contrast, isn't it?
It is.
The sharp exterior with a soft heart underneath.
Yes.
Okay, what about Libra? They're often described as the peacemakers, striving for balance and harmony in all aspects of their lives.
Right.
Does that apply to love as well?
Absolutely. Libra, ruled by Venus, the planet of love and beauty, approaches romance with a gentle and romantic touch.
Okay.
Think handwritten love letters, thoughtful gestures, and a desire to create a harmonious and aesthetically pleasing environment.
That sounds idyllic.
It can be.
But are they also prone to avoiding conflict? Like, would they stay in a relationship just to maintain the peace, even if they're unhappy?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Their aversion to drama can sometimes make them reluctant to rock the boat.
Right.
They might try to smooth things over or compromise their own needs to maintain that sense of equilibrium.
So even though they're all about fairness,
Yeah,
sometimes they might end up sacrificing their own happiness.
it's possible.
Something to think about. Okay, now we get to the mysterious and intense Scorpio.
Oh, yes.
Everyone always wants to know about Scorpio.
I know.
They have a reputation for being incredibly perceptive and even a bit intimidating.
Right.
How does this translate into their approach to love?
Scorpios are water signs, known for their depth and intensity. They're ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation, which gives them a magnetic and somewhat mysterious aura.
Right.
And yes, they are incredibly perceptive.
Right.
Think of them as human lie detectors.
Oh.
They pick up on the subtlest cues and can see right through any facade.
So no playing games with the Scorpio.
No, not a good idea.
They'll see through it in an instant.
That's right.
But underneath that intensity,
Yeah,
is there a soft spot?
there is.
What makes a Scorpio truly fall in love?
Ironically, their biggest weakness is genuine sincerity. Scorpios crave authenticity and depth in their connections.
Yeah.
They want to see your true self.
Oh, okay.
Flaws and alone.
So it's about vulnerability and trust for them.
Right.
They want to know they can fully open up and be themselves without judgment.
Exactly. Now, let's switch gears to Sagittarius, the here.
Okay.
They're known for their optimism, their adventurous spirit, and their love of freedom.
Right.
How does this translate into their approach to love?
Well, I've read that Sagittarians have a knack for focusing on the positive, always looking for the silver lining.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're oblivious to red flags or potential problems in a relationship?
Not necessarily. While Sagittarius is associated with optimism and a carefree attitude,
Right.
they also have a hidden depth.
Oh.
One source suggested that they might even have a secret stash of pessimism that they keep tucked away, just in case.
So they're not completely naive when it comes to love.
No, they're not.
They just choose to focus on the good stuff.
Right.
But what about that love of freedom? Doesn't that make commitment a challenge for them?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah?
One thing we found intriguing
Yeah.
is that Sagittarians tend to keep secrets,
Oh.
even in love.
Hmm.
It's not necessarily malicious,
Right.
more like a desire to protect their own independence and space.
So even though their intentions are good,
Right.
it could create an imbalance in the relationship.
Right. Exactly. Transparency and open communication are crucial for Sagittarius,
Right.
even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first.
All right, let's move on to Capricorn, the goat.
Okay.
They're often seen as ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
disciplined, and maybe a little bit serious.
Mm-hmm.
How do they approach love and relationships? Well, from what I've gathered, Capricorns are all about planning and strategy.
Yes.
And I'm guessing that extends to their love life as well.
That's right.
They're not the type to leave things to chance.
You're absolutely right. Capricorn is an earth sign known for its practicality and determination. They approach life with a clear plan and a strong sense of responsibility.
Right.
So yes, they bring that same level of intentionality to their relationships. They're
Right.
not looking for fleeting flings.
Right.
They want a solid foundation and a partner who shares their values and ambitions.
Does that mean they're all work and no play?
Mm.
Are Capricorns capable of letting loose and being spontaneous?
Here's where it gets really interesting. One source suggested that even the most reserved Capricorn likely has a wild romantic past, full of passionate adventures and maybe even a few heartbreaks.
Interesting.
Their current stability might be a result of lessons learned and a desire for something more lasting.
Well, that's a side of Capricorn we don't often hear about.
I know, right?
It makes you wonder what stories they could tell. Okay, now on to Aquarius, the water bearer.
Okay.
They're known for being independent,
Mm-hmm.
unconventional,
Yeah,
and a bit of a rebel.
right.
How does that play out in their love life?
Aquarius is an air sign known for its intellectual curiosity and a desire for freedom.
Okay.
They're not afraid to challenge the status quo and do things their own way,
Right.
so it makes sense that they might not always conform to traditional relationship norms.
That makes sense. But our source makes a bold statement about Aquarius,
Oh.
claiming that falling in love with an Aquarius might lead to heartbreak.
Oh, wow.
Why is that?
Mm.
Are they afraid of commitment?
That's a common perception, and there's some truth to it.
Right.
Aquarians value their independence
Uh-huh.
and can be hesitant to fully commit,
Mm-hmm.
at least in the traditional sense.
Right.
They might come across as emotionally detached or even a bit aloof,
Mm-hmm.
but that's often a defense mechanism
Right.
to protect their own vulnerability.
So there's a lot going on beneath the surface with Aquarius.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
They might not express their emotions in the same way as other signs,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean they don't feel deeply.
It sounds like it takes a special kind of person to truly understand and appreciate an Aquarius.
It does. Someone who respects their need for space and their unique way of expressing love.
Definitely. All right, finally, let's talk about Pisces, the fish.
Okay.
They're often described as dreamy,
Mm.
romantic,
Yes.
and incredibly compassionate.
Right.
How does this play out in their approach to love? From what I've read, Pisces are the ultimate romantics.
They are.
They see the world through rose-colored glasses
Mm.
and crave a love that's straight out of a fairy tale.
That's a pretty accurate description. Pisces is a water sign,
Right.
ruled by Neptune,
Mm-hmm.
the planet of dreams and illusions.
Right.
They're incredibly intuitive and sensitive,
Right.
often feeling things more deeply than other signs.
Right.
They have a rich inner world and a strong connection to their emotions.
So are they the type to plan those surprise candlelit dinners and sweep their partner off their feet with grand romantic gestures?
Absolutely. They love to create a magical and romantic atmosphere.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets a little complicated.
Okay.
Their partners might only be one chapter in a larger love story that exists within their imagination.
So they're always looking for that ideal love, even if it doesn't quite match up with reality.
It's more that they see the potential for love in everyone and everything. They're eternal optimists when it comes to matters of the heart.
That's both beautiful and a little bit heartbreaking, isn't it? It sounds like a Pisces needs a partner who can ground them in reality
Yeah,
without crushing their spirit.
exactly. Someone who appreciates their sensitivity and can navigate the depths of their emotional world.
Wow, that was quite a journey through the zodiac.
Yeah.
I feel like we just scratched the surface of each sign, though.
Yeah, I think we did. We
Right.
covered a lot, but you're right. There's so much more to explore.
This has been fascinating, though.
It has.
What stands out to you so far? Any surprises?
I think what's most interesting is how each sign's strengths
Yeah.
can also be their weaknesses, depending on how they're expressed.
Right.
Like, a Taurus's generosity can turn into resentment if they feel unappreciated.
That's a great point. It shows that there's always more to the story
Right.
than just the typical sun sign descriptions.
Exactly.
And I think it highlights the importance of understanding not just your own sign,
Yeah.
but also the signs of the people you're in relationships with.
Absolutely.
Right.
That way you can appreciate their unique way of loving.
And maybe avoid some misunderstandings along the way.
Right, exactly. It's about seeing beyond the surface and recognizing the complexities of each individual.
That's right.
Well, this is just the beginning of our deep dive into the zodiac and love.
It is.
We've still got a lot more to uncover.
Yes, we do.
So stay tuned, folks.
We'll be back with more insights and maybe even a few surprises.
Definitely. So until next time.
Keep exploring the fascinating world of astrology.
All right, we're back and ready to continue our deep dive into the zodiac and how each sign reacts to true love.
You know, it's interesting how these archetypes can provide a framework for understanding different relationship dynamics.
Yeah,
But real life is always more nuanced, right?
absolutely. Like you might meet a Virgo who's a total romantic,
Right.
even though the stereotype is that they're more practical.
Exactly. Or a Leo who's surprisingly shy and reserved.
Right, right.
These are just starting points, broad brushstrokes. Ultimately, each individual expresses their sign's traits in their own unique way.
Shaped by their experiences and choices.
That's what makes relationships so fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're constantly learning and discovering new things about your partner,
Right.
peeling back layers,
Yeah.
even when you think you have them all figured out.
I completely agree. It's unraveling a mystery.
Yeah.
And remember, astrology is just one lens through which we can view human behavior.
Right.
It's not a crystal ball or a set of rigid rules.
Right.
There are so many other factors that shape who we are and how we love, like our upbringing, our values, our personal journeys.
So true. It's more about recognizing patterns and tendencies,
Yes.
not putting people in boxes.
Right.
I'm curious, though,
Yeah.
about the idea that some signs are more compatible than others. Do you think there's any truth to astrological soulmates?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea of predetermined soulmates, I do think that certain signs naturally complement each other's energies better than others.
How so? Like, what makes one pairing more harmonious than another?
Well, for example, a fire sign like Aries might be drawn to an air sign like Gemini
Yeah.
because they both crave excitement, novelty, and intellectual stimulation.
Right.
They
Right.
feed off each other's energy and keep things interesting.
Well, a water sign like Cancer
Yes,
might seek the stability and grounding of an earth sign like Taurus.
exactly.
They crave that emotional security and consistency.
Precisely. It's about finding a balance of energies that creates harmony and understanding.
Yeah.
Of course, even within those supposedly compatible pairings,
Right.
there will always be challenges and differences to navigate.
Right, because no two individuals are exactly alike.
Right.
Even if they share the same sun sign.
Right.
Relationships require effort, communication, and a willingness to compromise,
Absolutely.
regardless of your astrological compatibility.
Couldn't agree more. It's about recognizing those differences
Right.
and working together to create a relationship that honors both partners' needs and desires.
Now, earlier we touched on the idea of betrayal,
Yeah.
and it seemed like many signs have a strong,
Right.
often negative reaction to any hint of deception. Why do you think that is?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Betrayal cuts deep. And I think it speaks to the fundamental human need for trust and security in relationships.
Yeah, for Aries, it seemed like a complete deal breaker.
Right.
Like their trust was shattered beyond repair. For Leo, it was a blow to their ego and their need for loyalty.
Yes.
And for Scorpio, it triggered their deepest insecurity.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how betrayal can manifest in different ways.
Right.
For some signs like Taurus, it might be about physical infidelity,
Right.
breaking that vow of commitment.
Right.
For others, like Gemini,
Okay.
it could be about intellectual dishonesty, feeling like their partner isn't being truthful or open with them.
And for a sign like Cancer, it could be a breach of emotional trust,
Yeah.
feeling like their feelings aren't valued or reciprocated.
Right. And I think it highlights the importance of open and honest communication in any relationship.
Yeah.
If something feels off,
Right.
or if there's a lack of transparency,
Yeah.
it's crucial to address it before it festers and erodes the foundation of trust.
But how do you rebuild that trust once it's been broken? It seems like such a delicate process.
It definitely takes time patience,
Mm-hmm.
and a willingness to be vulnerable from both partners.
Right.
It's about acknowledging the hurt, taking responsibility for actions,
Yeah.
and demonstrating a genuine desire to repair the damage.
And it's about choosing partners who are worthy of that trust to begin with.
Yeah.
People who consistently demonstrate integrity, respect,
Mm-hmm.
and a commitment to open communication.
Absolutely. Now, flipping the coin, what about the signs known for their unwavering loyalty?
Who comes to mind?
Well, Taurus definitely stands out.
Yeah.
Once they commit, they're all in, devoted, and steadfast.
Right. And Cancer, with their nurturing and protective instincts,
Mm-hmm.
fiercely loyal to their loved ones.
Absolutely.
They're the ones who will always have your back no matter what.
That's right.
What about Virgo?
Mm.
I feel like their analytical nature
Yeah.
might make them hesitant to commit initially,
Mm.
but once they do,
Yeah.
they're incredibly loyal.
Right. That's a great point. Virgos are all about integrity and follow through.
Yeah.
They wouldn't make a promise they couldn't keep.
Right.
So yes, once they've analyzed the situation
Right.
and determined that you're worthy of their devotion,
Mm-hmm.
they're in it for the long haul.
It's important to remember, though, that loyalty is a two-way street.
Yes, it is.
It's about mutual respect, trust, and a willingness to show up for each other,
Mm.
even when things get tough.
Absolutely. It's about building a partnership where both people feel safe, supported, and loved unconditionally.
Right.
Speaking of unconditional love,
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that Pisces embodies that concept more than any other sign.
Oh, for sure.
Hmm.
They're the dreamers, the romantics,
Wow.
the ones who see the best in everyone, even when others might not.
They lead with their hearts and are always willing to give second chances,
Yeah.
sometimes to a fault.
Which can be both a blessing and a curse, right?
It can.
Their empathy and compassion can make them vulnerable to being taken advantage of
Right.
if they're not careful.
That's true. It's important for Pisces to find partners who appreciate their sensitivity
Mm-hmm.
and won't exploit their kindness.
Right.
Partners who are equally compassionate and understanding.
Now, we haven't talked much about Libra yet.
That's true.
They're known for balance and harmony,
Right.
but what about their approach to love and loyalty?
Good question.
I'm picturing them as the ultimate diplomats,
Okay.
always striving for fairness and equality in their relationships.
That's a great way to put it. Libras are incredibly skilled at mediating and finding common ground.
Yeah.
They truly value partnership and
Yeah.
strive to create a harmonious dynamic.
But they also really hate conflict, right?
They do.
Would they avoid addressing issues
Mhm.
just to keep the peace?
Their aversion to confrontation can sometimes lead them to sweep things under the rug,
Right.
hoping they'll just resolve themselves,
Right.
but that can backfire in the long run.
So it's important for Libras to find their voice
Yeah.
and advocate for their own needs, even if it means rocking the boat a little bit.
Exactly. And it's important for their partners to encourage that assertiveness
Right.
and create a safe space for open communication.
Speaking of communication,
Yes.
I think it's interesting to compare and contrast the communication styles of different signs.
It is.
Like Gemini is known for being chatty and expressive,
Right.
while Scorpio is more reserved and intense.
Yes. And Aries is direct and to the point, while Cancer is more emotional and nuanced.
It's fascinating how these communication styles can either complement
Right?
or clash in a relationship.
For example, a Gemini paired with a Scorpio might need to find a balance between open communication
Right.
and respecting each other's need for space and privacy.
While in Aries, paired with a Cancer, Cancer might need to learn to soften their approach
Right.
and be more sensitive to their partner's emotional needs.
It's all about finding a communication style that works for both partners.
Right.
And that requires a willingness to listen, empathize,
Yeah.
and compromise.
Now, earlier we talked about romantic gestures.
Yes.
It's a universal language of love,
It is.
but how it's expressed
Right.
can vary so much from sign to sign.
Absolutely.
I'm imagining Taurus showering their partner with lavish gifts and sensual experiences.
Spot on. Well, for Cancer, it might be about acts of service, quality time, and those little gestures that show they truly care.
And for Leo, it's got to be grand displays of affection,
Oh, yes.
public declarations of love,
Mhm,
making their partner feel like royalty.
It's so true. It highlights the importance of understanding not just your partner's sun sign, but also their love languages, those specific ways they feel most loved and appreciated.
Right. Because what might feel romantic to one person
Yeah.
might feel completely over the top or even meaningless to another.
It's about learning to speak each other's love languages fluently
Yeah.
and recognizing that those languages encompass more than just romantic gestures.
Right.
It's about words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, physical touch, gifts.
Right.
Finding that perfect blend that resonates with both partners.
Now, we've talked about the initial spark of passion in relationships.
Right.
But how does that passion evolve as a relationship matures? Does it fizzle out or does it transform into something else?
That's a great question. I think that initial, almost intoxicating passion often evolves into something deeper and more sustainable as the relationship grows.
It becomes less about fireworks and butterflies
Right.
and more about a deep sense of connection, intimacy, and shared understanding.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean the passion disappears altogether.
Right.
It might express itself in different ways.
Okay.
Through shared interests, intellectual stimulation, emotional vulnerability, or simply that comfortable silence where you feel completely at ease with each other.
It's about nurturing that spark, keeping it alive, even as the relationship evolves and deepens. Because without passion, a relationship can become stagnant and unfulfilling.
Absolutely. So how do you keep that spark alive? I think it's about making an effort.
Right.
About prioritizing each other and creating opportunities for connection, whether it's date nights, shared hobbies, or simply taking the time to truly listen and appreciate each other.
It's also about remembering why you fell in love in the first place.
Yes.
Those qualities that initially drew you to each other, those shared values, those moments of joy and laughter, nurturing those aspects of the relationship allows it to flourish.
Now let's talk about compromise.
Okay.
It's often seen as a necessary ingredient in any successful relationship, but I think it's often misunderstood.
I agree.
What are your thoughts on this?
I agree. People often view compromise as giving something up, settling for less, or sacrificing their own needs. But true compromise isn't about losing yourself.
No, it's not.
It's about finding a solution that works for both partners. About meeting each other halfway and respecting each other's needs and perspectives.
It's about collaboration, not capitulation.
And it's about recognizing that sometimes you might need to let go of your own desires for the sake of the relationship's greater good.
But that doesn't mean sacrificing your values or your sense of self.
It's about finding a balance between individual needs and the needs of the partnership.
And that balance might shift over time as the relationship evolves.
Requiring open communication and flexibility from both partners.
Before we move on, I want to touch on something that's foundational to healthy relationships. But often overlooked self-love.
Such an important point. If you don't love and respect yourself, it's incredibly difficult to love and respect someone else fully. It's also difficult to attract a partner who will love and respect you in the way you deserve.
So how do you cultivate self-love? Where do you even begin?
I think it starts with self-awareness, with understanding your strengths and weaknesses, your values and beliefs, your needs and desires. And it's about accepting yourself, flaws, and treating yourself with kindness and compassion.
Because ultimately, you are worthy of love and happiness, just as you are.
Absolutely.
And when you embrace that truth, it radiates outwards and attracts others who will see and appreciate your inherent worth.
Yes, beautifully said.
And it lays the groundwork for a relationship built on mutual respect, appreciation, and a genuine desire to see each other thrive.
Now let's circle back to communication.
Yes. Communication, the lifeblood of any healthy relationship.
Without clear and honest communication, misunderstandings fester, resentment builds, and the foundation of trust and intimacy starts to crumble.
It's so true. So how do you create a communication style that works for both partners? I think it starts with active listening, with truly tuning in to what your partner's saying, both verbally and non-verbally.
It's about paying attention to their body language. Their tone of voice, those subtle cues that reveal what's going on beneath the surface.
And it's about expressing your own thoughts and feelings clearly and respectfully, using I statements instead of you statements, which can come across as accusatory and create defensiveness.
It's also about being willing to compromise,
Mm.
to find solutions that work for both of you,
Yes.
even if it means letting go of your initial position.
Of course, communication isn't always easy,
Right.
especially when dealing with difficult topics or emotions.
Right.
But it's important to approach those conversations with a spirit of collaboration and a desire to understand each other's perspectives, even if you disagree.
And to remember that you're on the same team,
Yes.
working together to create a healthy and fulfilling relationship.
Speaking of creating a healthy dynamic, let's talk about boundaries.
Right.
Boundaries are essential for any healthy relationship.
Yeah.
They define what's acceptable and unacceptable behavior
Right.
and protect your physical, emotional, and mental well-being.
So how do you set healthy boundaries? It seems like it could be a tricky conversation.
It can be, but it's crucial.
Yeah.
It starts with self-awareness, understanding your own needs and limits.
Right.
And then it's about communicating those boundaries clearly and assertively to your partner, letting them know what you're comfortable with and what you're not.
And it's about enforcing those boundaries consistently.
Yes.
If you don't,
Right.
they're not really boundaries, are they?
Exactly. And it's okay to say no.
Right.
It's okay to prioritize your own needs.
Right.
And it's okay to walk away from a relationship if your boundaries are consistently disregarded.
Setting boundaries can be especially challenging if you're used to people-pleasing or putting others' needs before your own.
Yes.
But it's a sign of self-respect and a crucial step in creating a healthy and fulfilling relationship.
It shows your partner that you value yourself.
Right.
And that you expect to be treated with respect in return.
And protect your physical, emotional, and mental well-being.
Right.
So how do you set healthy boundaries? It seems like it could be a tricky conversation.
It can be,
Yeah.
but it's crucial. It starts with self-awareness, understanding your own needs and limits. And then it's about communicating those boundaries clearly and assertively to your partner, letting them know what you're comfortable with and what you're not.
Right.
And it's about enforcing those boundaries consistently.
Right. If you don't, they're not really boundaries, are they?
Exactly. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to prioritize your own needs. And it's okay to walk away from a relationship if your boundaries are consistently disregarded.
Right.
Setting boundaries can be especially challenging if you're used to people-pleasing or putting others' needs before your own. But it's a sign of self-respect and a crucial step in creating a healthy and fulfilling relationship.
It shows your partner that you value yourself and that you expect to be treated with respect in return. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the role of trust in relationships.
Trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship. Without trust, there can be no intimacy, no vulnerability, no true connection.
It's like building a house on sand. Eventually it will collapse. So how do you build that solid foundation of trust?
I think it starts with honesty, being truthful with each other, even when it's difficult. And it's about keeping your promises, following through on your commitments, and being reliable.
It's about showing up for each other, both physically and emotionally, being present, and being consistent in your actions.
Now, trust takes time to build. It's not something that happens overnight, and it can be broken in an instant. But the good news is it can also be repaired if both partners are committed to the process.
So if trust has been broken in your relationship, don't give up hope. Talk to each other, seek professional help if needed, and work together to rebuild that foundation.
Because without trust, a relationship cannot truly thrive. Now, let's talk about the concept of forgiveness. It's such a powerful force in relationships.
Forgiveness is absolutely essential, when you say. We're all human, we all make mistakes. Holding on to resentment only hurts us in the long run.
You're so right. It's like carrying around a heavy weight. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the behavior or forgetting what happened. It's about choosing to let go of the anger and resentment for your own well-being.
It's about freeing yourself from that negative energy so you can move forward in the relationship.
And sometimes forgiveness is more about forgiving yourself for your part in the situation. It's about self-compassion and acceptance.
Now let's talk about gratitude. It seems like gratitude is something we could all use a little more of in our lives, especially in our relationships.
I completely agree. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's lacking to what we already have. It's about appreciating the good things, big and small.
Like noticing the effort your partner puts into making you happy, or acknowledging the qualities that you admire about them.
Exactly. It's about savoring those everyday moments of joy and connection. And it's not just about feeling gratitude internally. It's about expressing it to your partner.
Through words, actions, gestures, anything that lets them know you see and value them.
Those expressions of gratitude can be as simple as a heartfelt thank you or a thoughtful gesture. It's about making your partner feel loved and appreciated. And when people feel appreciated, they're more likely to reciprocate, creating a positive cycle of love and kindness.
Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about a topic that can sometimes be tricky to navigate in relationships.
Money. Yes, money can be a major source of conflict, especially if couples have different financial values or habits.
So how can couples approach this topic constructively and avoid unnecessary arguments?
Open and honest communication is essential. Talk about your financial goals, your spending habits, and any debt you may have. It's also important to create a budget together, a plan for how you'll manage your finances as a team.
Having shared financial goals can really help couples stay on the same page and work towards a common vision. It can also create a sense of partnership and shared responsibility.
Absolutely. And remember, it's okay to disagree, but it's important to do so respectfully and find a compromise that works for both of you.
Now let's talk about something that's often overlooked but can significantly impact a relationship, the role of family and friends.
Family and friends can be a wonderful source of support, but they can also create challenges if boundaries aren't clear.
How can couples maintain healthy relationships with loved ones while also protecting their own relationship?
Again, communication is key. Talk to your partner about your expectations for family and friend involvement and set clear boundaries together. Remember, your relationship with your partner is your primary commitment.
It's about finding a balance that works for both of you, ensuring that outside relationships don't create unnecessary stress or conflict in your partnership.
Now let's turn our attention to something that's crucial for individual well-being and, in turn, the health of the relationship: self-care.
Self-care is often seen as a luxury, but it's really a necessity. If we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't show up fully for our partners or for the relationship.
You hit the nail on the head. Self-care is about prioritizing your physical, emotional, and mental health. It's about making time for yourself, doing things that bring you joy and recharge your batteries.
It's about setting aside time for those activities that nourish your soul, whether it's reading, exercising, spending time in nature, or simply taking a relaxing bath.
And it's about recognizing that self-care is not selfish. It's an essential ingredient for a healthy and fulfilling life, and in turn, a healthy and fulfilling relationship.
Well, this has been a truly insightful deep dive into the complexities of love and relationships. What are some final takeaways for our listeners?
Remember that love is a journey, not a destination. It's about continuous growth, learning, and adaptation. And it's about choosing to love each other, even when it's hard.
Beautifully said. And remember, whether you're a fiery Aries or a dreamy Pisces, there's someone out there who will appreciate your unique way of loving.
Thanks for joining us on Lucky Fortune English Podcast.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Subscribing to our channel will bring you good luck. See you again.